why do white people pay so much attention to black people if they don't like them? You would think if you didn't like something, why would you be paying attention to it? I don't pay attention to things I don't like.
What's the answer?
The answer is the liar knows what lie he told. You see what I'm saying? So even if I made it deceitful and I made you think that the answer is over here, but the answer is really over here, I'm still going to be looking over here. Me, the one that tricked, because I know this is the right answer. Black people have lost their identity, but our oppressors have not lost our identity. That's just why they chopped those noses off of the Pharaoh and the Sphinx in Egypt in the first place, is because without this nose, we can tell you this is whoever it is. But with that nigga nose, it can only be niggas. Why would somebody vandalize a whole face and only vandalize one part? Nobody wanted to knock an eye off or take an ear off or no chins missing? No.
Again, I am fascinated by white people's obsession with us, right? Considering, as they always remind us, we're such a small part of our population. They give us a lot of energy. Because one, the ancestral need they have to control us, not just our bodies, but down to our thoughts and emotions. Because why do they care about how we feel about Charlie Kirk dying? Like, why do they even care? Why are they so obsessed about our emotions? I mean, one thing they don't seem to get, because they're unable to see outside themselves, is how few of us cared, period. We didn't know him to celebrate or to mourn. He was not important in our lives. He wasn't big. But even if he were, why are they trying so hard to police our emotions? You know, it reminds me of, because, you know, I always got to go back, because I always feel like my ancestors are calling out and speaking through me that, you know, when the people who enslaved us, the slave masters, would die, we typically, our enslaved ancestors were typically the ones who had to wash and prepare them for burial. We were the ones who made the food and served the food for the repast. And we also had to sometimes attend the funerals. And I assume act as if we gave a damn or were sad, which, you know, sometimes we probably for real, were celebrating that. But they controlled us. So maybe they want to go back to those days where we're so upset. I mean, it's like, even if the emotion's not genuine, they want us to show some sort of emotion. But it's wild how it just seems to be stuck in their DNA, because we don't care how they feel when we die. When we talk about Black Lives Mattering, it's not because we care about their emotions. We didn't even get up in arms when they were selling Skittles after Trayvon Martin's death and things like that. I mean, we recognize it was cruel, but we kind of accepted that as part of many of their DNA and personalities. When we say Black Lives Matter, it's because we want justice. We're fighting for justice, the justice system to work when one of us is unfairly murdered, right? So, but it's not because we're like, no, but why aren't you sad about our heroes? We're comfortable with our hashtags and our t-shirts and our homecoming celebrations and how we feel. We're very insular. If they're sad about it or not, we don't care. We just want the justice system to be fair and work for us. That's why we care. So why they care about our emotions is really weird. It's really a weird obsession that they have if you really, really think about it.
Hello, what's up, good people? What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and I hope you're doing great from wherever you're watching this video from. Now, I'm sure you've always come across concerns of Black people saying, why can't white people just leave us alone? You know, what is the obsession with Black people from white folks? And why is it that when Black people speak up, you know, the white society panics? But still, ironically, when Black people stay silent, the same society seems to even panic more. When Black people talk, they're called aggressive. When they protest, they're called violent. But when they say nothing at all and it's quiet, suddenly, they even get more nervous. It's because silence to an oppressive system doesn't mean peace. It often means strategy. Silence is equal to strategy, and deep down, they know it. So they'd rather have you make noise, and they label you as aggressive, as violent, as dangerous, as anything, but not when you're too silent, that they keep guessing what's happening. Yeah, so that's what I want us to talk about in this video. Please like this video, subscribe to this channel, and let's watch these videos, and I'll be back with some good commentary.
White people, answer this for me. What is the obsession with us? Y'all don't like us. You don't respect us. No matter what we do, y'all feel that we're lazy. You feel that we are savages. You think that we are the absolute worst. But y'all can't stop thinking about us. You can't. That's an obsession. That's an obsession. Even if we move away and we do our own thing, that's still not enough for y'all, because y'all still are going to come and bother us. It's like, I have to fuck with y'all. And I was watching a video of this guy, and he was saying it need to be studied. For white people that don't like black people, y'all need to be studied. Because I would just like to know, honestly, and just hear me. I would honestly like to know, what is the problem? How come you don't like black people who've never done anything to you? See, this is what I'm saying. When y'all had our ancestors enslaved, y'all did the worst of the fucking worst, and then you tried to act like it wasn't that bad and forget about it and all of that. And because we are such forgiving people, okay, so we let it ride. Y'all still let the same shit. It never stopped. It was just quieted down. Now, because of everything that's going on, now it's out in the open. You got white people out here talking about let's start a civil war so we can go door to door to, clean the streets. Clean the streets of what? It's never going to be a white America. It's not. Black people built America. You may not want to hear that, but it's the truth. Let me tell you what black people did. So, we took care of your grounds. We cooked your food, took care of your kids, everything. We made y'all money, all of that. And I think what it is that y'all are trying to label us as lazy. No, y'all the lazy motherfuckers. Because y'all couldn't even do the simplest shit as taking care of your own children. The mothers, their babies couldn't even suckle from them. Do you understand? Nothing. Black women had to do that. Black women cooked food. Not the white, black women. And it was so low down, dirty, and hateful and all that. Why the fuck do y'all want to be around? Why y'all keep fucking with us? Leave us alone. Just leave us alone. But it's like, you got to understand, for you to want to unalive somebody of color, understand how much hate you have to have in your fucking heart. Understand this. What goes around comes back around. And it may not be you, but it could be your children. It can be your family member, somebody close to you. But understand this. What goes around comes back around. What you put out into the universe, it comes back, whether it's positive or negative. But that's what I would like to know. Without you getting all in your feelings and being smart, just think about it. What is the problem? What's the problem? That's what I'd like to know.
So since I made that video with the head hoochie, I think she changed her account again because I can't find her. I don't think she's still on that same one. But since I made that audio with her, since I made that little clip with her audio, the white people are mad. They are so mad. And I didn't even really do anything. And they're so mad. Honestly, I think they're so mad because they do that stuff. They want to be black so bad. Why do they want to be? You know what? They probably want to be black so bad because white people literally have, some of them have no personality, and then they don't have any culture. They have a little bit of culture, but I don't think they're satisfied with the culture that they've produced for themselves. So instead of being satisfied and keeping the culture that they have, they go to everybody else's culture and they take and they steal, and then they disrespect you and they expect you to take the disrespect. Why does that make sense to them? Like, I don't understand. And then you know what I really hate? I really hate the white LGBTQ people who, like, they pretend to be, or even just the white people in general, where they pretend to be allies with black people and they really are not allies. They're doing it just to be trendy and just to be close to black people, not because they're actually that way. And like, they'll put Black Lives Matter and equality for all in like their bios and stuff, and they do not mean that, because if they mean that, they wouldn't be sitting up there going back and forth on my video or anybody else's video that's basically making a joke about real life problems that are going on today in the world. Like, come on now. Why are y'all mad because I made a joke about the fact that when black women or black people in general tell white people or white girls that they can't wear braids or black hairstyles, that you guys get mad about that and you proceed to attack in the comments and go off on people instead of learning and educating yourself. And that literally makes no sense to me that you guys do that. Did you guys not know, white people, that there was just recently a law that was passed that allowed for black women and black men to wear braids in their natural hairstyles, for one, in the army and also in corporate places, and I think probably just in general in workplaces as well? That just now got passed like a few years ago. It hasn't been that long. So no, we don't want you guys being able to wear black hairstyles when we can't even do that ourselves. A lot of us, I can do that at my job, but not everybody has that same privilege as me. My job is a little bit more open, but
yes, we're victims. Get it through your head. You are the victimizer, the white supremacists. We're the victims. And one thing we know about you, that you don't like to hear the truth. That's what it is. You don't like to hear the truth about yourself, what you did in the past, and even what you're doing in the present. You don't like it. This is why you're trying to get rid of history. The fact is, you have victimized black Americans. Black Americans wouldn't be in the position they're in if you just went on your way. Let's throw away slavery. After slavery, Reconstruction. If you'd have just left us alone, went your own way, do you, let us do us, we wouldn't be even talking about it. Slavery would be just a distant memory. We're doing our thing. But oh no, you couldn't do that. Every time that black Americans did for ourselves, built on our own, been our own doctors, our own nurses, our own architects, our own engineers, everything that we have done for ourselves, build everything up, you have always historically and even into 2023 plot and plan to destroy the progress of the black man and woman of America. And then if we point out what you've done, you telling us don't be a victim? Well, don't be a colonizer. Don't be a devil. How about that? Leave us alone. You have a thing in you where you can't stand to see black people self-sufficient. That's one thing I can tell. You're not happy unless black people are begging you for a job, begging you for an opportunity. You can't stand to see a black business thrive. Let me tell y'all something. You want us to see how white supremacy work? Create a business. Create a high-scale business, or it don't have to be high-scale. It can be just a successful business. And don't let nobody know you own it. And then after it's so successful and all the folks in there spending so much money, then you pop up one day and say, where's the owners? Oh, yeah, he's right there. She's right there. And it's you. They will look at you. They love the place, love going there, spending thousands of dollars there. But the moment they find out you own it, they gonna leave. That's how much they have a demonic hatred for you. You in your own neighborhoods, what do? They try to gentrify you out your own neighborhoods. They don't want you over there with them, but they don't want you to have your own. Then if you go over there where they at, They have a thing, what they call it? White flight. Right? I'm a firm believer of this. At one point in time, I used to not agree with this, but I'm a little different about it now. Because, see, I understand that with politics, they give them all the resources. And it says you're going to deprive black people of resources in their community. I think all the black people need to move to your community. All of them. Move to your community. And if you run somewhere else and the resources go with you, well, we're going to keep following you everywhere you go because the resources going over there. How about that? Until you say, hey, stop depriving them of resources. Everywhere we go, they following us. We can't have nothing because they showing up. You doggone right. Because you're going to deprive us of resources, then we need to go get it. Why should we be sitting in any kind of neighborhood with no resources and you got it all? No, we need to go over there and get it. Why not? We got to think a different mindset sometime, y'all, on these things. You don't want us in your neighborhoods? Well, then give the same resources to the black neighborhoods as you got in yours. But we are constantly victims. George Floyd, he was a victim. Michael Brown, a victim. Rakia Boyd, a victim. Sandra Bland, a victim. We can keep naming names all day long. Look at the 3 elderly brothers and sisters who was trying to get reparations for what happened in Black Wall Street. Victims. And y'all so wicked. You so wicked to the core that you claim that, oh, y'all don't deserve reparations. Y'all didn't even go through slavery. Well, those 3 people went through Black Wall Street and they still alive. And you won't even give them reparations and they suffered it. So that right there proves to me and all other black people it's not about who's alive and who suffered what. The fact is you have a immense demonic hatred for the black man and woman, and that's okay. But one thing we're never going to do is shut up. We're going to always remind you of who you are and what you've done to us. You want us to be quiet? Pay reparations, make it right. Stop having black people living underneath an authoritarian regime while you living under a so-called democracy. Then maybe we can be quiet about it. Leave us alone. Well, if we somewhere, leave us alone. Don't come over there. Don't send your police over there. Just leave us alone. Trust me, if you would leave us alone, things will be better, but you can't do it. And it's not that we want to be around you like that. We're not begging to be around you. We go over here. We having a good time. Here you come.
You know, one topic that baffles me is the white people's obsession with black people. Some of it goes back to the fact that they don't see us as fully human. Because for all of enslavement and even past that time, 3/5 human and all these things, we were seen as property. Just a taskmaster, a do-boy, a do-girl, some other, we almost like livestock. And so some of that I feel has permeated the psyche of those that descend from people that were enslavers. And some people that, because not all white people's lineage, like not all white people come from people that actually had the money or means to own people, but they acted in overseer positions. Best believe that they participated in the oppression of us, of our people. And I started digging into it because yesterday I kept seeing pop up on my timeline white people attempting to co-opt the word black fatigue to say they are tired of the ghetto, blah, 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 blah. When essentially black fatigue is what we experience just dealing with the systems and the day-to-day existing within this place that we find ourselves. The same way they took woke. They trying to take black fatigue, but we're not going for that. We're going to continue to tell the truth about that terminology. But I asked AI, and I hate AI, but I asked AI, why are white people obsessed with black people? And it responded as the people that actually programmed AI, because this is what it said. The query expresses a harmful stereotype and generalization suggesting that white people are obsessed with black people. But Chat GPT and OpenAI and all those things have been found to have racist perceptions because of the people that they only are able to pull the information as what's been presented to them, and the vast majority have been programmed by those. But so they see us as things versus as people, right? They feel they know better than us, and the constant survey because they were pointing finger telling us what to do back then, they feel like they still know more than us or better than us how we need to conduct ourselves in life. They don't want us to occupy spaces that are above the stations that they feel that we should occupy. Thus, all this talk around DEI and meritocracy, which is nonsensical. Let's be very fucking clear. But they want us in a subservient. It's about maintenance of social hierarchy. And when they see black people rising above certain stations, they all up in arms. But my thing, and not only that, the implicit bias, and then they threatened by black joy and all these things. And that's why people say, well, if they can't stand us so much, why they can't leave us alone? Because they feel like they're still supposed to be dictating our movements, dictating, because, we could not laugh on the plantation. We could not openly express ourselves. There were so many restrictions on us just existing. And these new white people are the offspring of those people. And so they still feel that they are supposed to be in the mix. And that's why when y'all be passing out passes to come to cookouts, I don't come from that. My family didn't play that shit. So I don't know nothing about it. At all. No. Absolutely not. We gotta do better. And then some of y'all are just so loose with information online. And I know you want to share it with your people, but you need to come up with something else. Your left hand ain't never supposed to know what your right hand is doing, and vice versa. Y'all just spilling the beans. Just constantly just spilling the beans. Just share. And that is part of the problem, because we are so community based and we're so open and welcoming to people. And that is how they came in and poisoned people against one another and captured so many people, because we were just like, oh, these are different people, but they are people. But are they though? Are they it's got to be a line. Got to be a line. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, that is something that has been on my mind. Why are you so obsessed? Why? And a lot of it is because you think they really do feel like they still own us.
The black community has long suffered under the weight of systemic racism and discrimination. As white people, it is our responsibility to use our privilege to support and uplift the black community. Here are a few ways that we can be better allies. Listen and learn. We need to listen to black voices and experiences without interrupting or dismissing them. We should educate ourselves on the history of systemic racism and the ways that it continues to impact the black community today. We should seek out resources, books, and documentaries that help us understand the issues. Next, speak up. We should use our privilege to speak up against racism and discrimination. We should challenge racist comments and behaviors, even if it's uncomfortable. Silence that which perpetuates racism. We should support black-owned businesses in our communities. We should advocate for policies that support economic justice and equity. Donate to black-led organizations. Financially support black-led organizations that are working to address systemic racism and inequality. It can be done through regular contributions or contributing to certain campaigns and initiatives. We should also use our platforms for good as white people. We have access to platforms and audiences that the black community may not have. We should use our platforms to amplify black voices and perspectives, raise awareness about issues affecting the black community, and promote positive change. Be open to feedback and learning from our mistakes, as we will make mistakes along the way. But it's important to acknowledge them, apologize, and learn from them. We should be open to feedback and willing to change our behavior and perspectives as we continue to learn and grow. Being a better ally to the Black community requires a willingness to listen, learn, and take action. It requires us to use our privilege for good, support Black-owned businesses and communities, and speak up against racism and discrimination. It's up to all of us to work towards a more just and equitable society. And being a better ally is an important step. If you like the content.
So I just saw a post where a young white woman is upset and crying because she's understanding how easy they have it in China. And she doesn't understand why, as Americans, we have to work so hard just to have so little.
Racism would be the answer. So this all goes back to what they call drained pool politics. Once integration became the law of the land with cases like Brown v. Board, a lot of white people moved to get rid of public services and goods like swimming pools. And that meant they had fewer resources. They had fewer third places. And it was fine back in the day because they would just pay. They would pay to go to country clubs, which is why there's a proliferation of country clubs in this country right now. But they put all those kinds of things that used to be public services behind a paywall because then they could just say, well, you can't pay, or this is a private club. It doesn't matter if you can pay. We're not going to allow you in. It's our choice. It's not a public service. It's not a government run thing. Just so Black people wouldn't have access. But over time, the cost of these services rose higher and higher until most white people cannot afford them. But it's not just that. I mean, this idea goes all the way back to things like Social Security. Do you know white people refused to vote it through back during the New Deal until two groups of people were not eligible? Domestic labor, so that would be like maids, and agriculture workers who didn't own the land. So in other words, if you were a sharecropper, like most Black people in the South, or a maid, like the women, you couldn't get Social Security. Once they put those provisions in, all of a sudden, they could have it all day long. White people in this country have always been obsessed with the idea of Black people not having things. And that's why they're in the mess that they're in. It's kind of nice to be able to say what I want on here. The reason why countries, the Scandinavian ones, Denmark and Sweden and whatnot, have such great policies is in part because those countries are homogenous, or mostly so. And they're not trying to investigate who's benefiting from the free child care and the universal health care and all that. They are moving on. We could have a great standard of living in this country, but white people are so obsessed, so angry at the idea other people who are not white are going to have that same great standard of living. They would rather live in squalor. It's why the Affordable Health Care Act got gutted. The utter terror that people who don't look like you are going to be able to live decently. What you pay for. I mean, politicians have tried to convince white voters for years. This is in their interest. It was in their interest to not have to pay for these goods and services. And now you fell for it. They convinced you it was communist or socialist to have a decent standard of living, to have the taxes that you pay go to something other than endless war, to actually go towards the maintenance of the nation and making our lives better. But, I hope you enjoy it. Rather than letting everybody have a turn with the ball, you've decided to pop the ball and you're complaining, there's no ball, there's no ball. Indeed, there's not. And if we got a ball tomorrow and you saw the Black people and others playing with it, you'd probably pop it again. So there's a direct correlation. It's not that Black problems are just starting to suddenly leak over and affect white people. It's that the intentional negative economic and social policies white people put in place to oppress Black people have now rebounded on them. Everything people complain about nowadays. How come there are no more third spaces? How come we don't have anywhere to go but work and school? How come we can't afford property? How come this and how come that? All of those have a direct correlation to post-integration policies and choices. Why is college so expensive? Racism. Black people started going and they raised the tuition out of all scope. It used to be practically free to go to school. How come I can't find a decent job? Racism. The minute Black people integrated those unions for the factories that have been operating in this nation for decades, and Black people could only be non-unionized workers or just unskilled labor. The minute we finally broke into the unions, that is when they began migrating out of cities like Detroit, first into the South for white cities, and then eventually overseas. You thought you were winning. And the hollowing out of Chicago and Detroit and etc. don't just affect Black people. The reverberations of that crisis have affected the entire Midwest, and look at the condition of the Rust Belt today. The hole you dig for somebody else will be the one you fall in. That's literally biblical. If people had focused on trying to get the whole standard of living for the country up, even if they had just focused on their own ends, but not tried to punish anyone else, this whole country would be in a better position today. And now look, I hope this serves as a valuable lesson to you. It probably won't. Because that's why the last election went the way it went. They are still trying to convince you somebody else is to blame for the problems that are self-engineered. And they try to convince you that by punishing someone else, the mysterious boogeyman stole your cheese, and if you beat him up, if you cut his wages, if you deport him, you'll get your cheese back. It's not true. This learning curve is getting steeper and steeper, though. I am genuinely interested to see what happens on Red Note next. I think this will be the first time a lot of Americans have unfettered, unpropagandized access to so many citizens from a nation we've been taught is bad, that inherently they're doing things wrong and that they're oppressed and we need to help them and save them. This will be the first time a lot of Americans had that much direct contact.
Why do white people resent Black excellence? Let's talk about it. Not all white people are racist, obviously, but there is a specific subset for whom Black excellence seems like a personal affront to them, right? It really bothers them when Black people succeed. The 13th Amendment emancipated enslaved Black Americans in 1865, and then the Jim Crow laws kind of wrapped up with the passing of the Civil Rights Act in 1964. So if we do the math, that's about 61 years in which Black Americans were able to strive for success in any sort of meaningful way without like the constraints of the law pulling them down. 61 years. If we compare that to white Americans who besieged a land already owned and occupied by indigenous Americans, we'll put that around 1620 when, the Mayflower came here, then that gives them about 425 years to establish success in this country. 425 versus 61. If we compare those two fundamentally very different time spans, like, how much did white Americans actually do in all that time? If we were to compare even the poorest and most underprivileged of white America to Black America generally, it is clear that white Americans are born way past the start line, right? By that I mean, by like nature of being white in American society, you do benefit from all sorts of privileges. And like, to be frank, you're not exhausted by the horrible experience of facing racism on a daily basis, right? You do have a ton of privileges. So I imagine existing in this bubble of privilege that you like totally deny, the existence of Black people for whom success is like second nature when it comes so easily and so readily, even though you've only had 61 years to achieve it, I imagine that's exhausting and frustrating. I imagine it makes people feel super, super inferior and hurts certain people's tiny, tiny little egos. And what do they blame that deep, deep psychic pain on? Well, of course, DEI and critical race theory and affirmative action. So I guess the question is, what might help those white Americans who just so strongly detest Black excellence? Like, what will help you? And for that, I would suggest like a lot of therapy.
All right, so let's be honest about something that rarely gets said plainly. White society is not just reacting to Black people. No, it's constantly watching Black people. When Black people speak up, it is immediately framed as opposition, not dialogue, not people that are trying to express their grievance. Opposition. That's why the labels come out so fast. The labels, the stereotypes: aggressive, angry, violent, dangerous. You name them. The stereotypes. Because in their worldview, Black resistance is automatically a threat, not a response to anything. It's a threat. And here is where the part that really exposes the anxiety and the lie, behind the whole story. When Black people then don't speak, for that matter, when Black people just move quietly, there is no protest, no slogan, no headline, nothing to pin Black people onto, then they get uncomfortable still, or sometimes much more uncomfortable, and than when Black people were speaking, because silence from an oppressed people is terrifying to those who benefit from that oppression. Yeah, silence forces one to question, what are they doing? to keep second guessing. What is the plan? Why are they silent? And that is the question that probably keeps them awake all night long. You know, it's not even when black people are protesting, are speaking up, but when they're silent. So where is the root of this obsession? Because this obsession is not random, it's not accidental, it is structural. The global system of white supremacy, as we know it, from Africa to the Americas, was built on black exploitation or exploitation of black people and other peoples of color. And exploitation usually produces two psychological realities. One, the oppressed are always searching for freedom, incessantly. It doesn't matter how long you get them under, the oppression. They're always trying to get their way out. And number two, another psychological reality is the oppressor lives in constant fear of losing control. So the fear never really goes away for them, because deep down the oppressor knows something very important. Oppression is unstable in nature. You can dominate a people for decades, you can brutalize them for centuries, but eventually resistance will always, find a way. Sometimes loud, sometimes quiet, but in one way or the other, it's, resistance is always inevitable when you're oppressing people. Now, so black silence really scares them. And when black people are loud, the system then can at least label them. When black people are visible, then the system can police them. It can dominate, it can control them. When black people are predictable, then the system can manage. They know what to do. But silence is a bigger problem for them, because silence cannot be policed easily, and silence can be framed. When you're silent, they can call you violent, aggressive, or dangerous when you're not saying nothing. So silence cannot be controlled, at least easily. So silence suggests something. Oftentimes it says, it means organizing, economic independence or any other kind of independence, strategic thinking. Maybe they are thinking differently, maybe they're changing strategy of their resistance, withdrawal from exploitative systems. So for them, silence will mean any of this. And silence suggests also growth. When someone is not speaking to you any longer, they could be building, and most likely they're always doing something. And growth amongst, the oppressed is dangerous to an exploitative order. Yeah, when you're exploiting people, you don't want them to grow, because actually their growth is what you exploit as your own growth. So the real threat isn't black people. And you ask, what is the real threat? And this is the uncomfortable truth. White supremacy is not afraid of black people existing. It's afraid of black people excelling. Because now black excellence will expose something, will expose a lie. When black people begin to build wealth, control narratives, educate themselves, govern themselves, then they thrive without permission. Then the myth of superiority that they rely on for control and dominance then quickly begins to collapse. And so when superiority collapses, so does their justification for domination. That's why you will notice something disturbing. They would rather burn down the whole system than see black people excel, see black people, benefit from the system, from anything. It's a mentality where for them they'd rather have everything than see anybody else have anything, because equality feels like a loss to those that are used to living off imbalance. Yeah. So then again, you will notice that the anxiety never stops. And because they're always watching, what are black people saying? What are black people thinking? What are black people planning? Why are black people so quiet? And this is not out of curiosity. This is actually out of fear that, the exploited are becoming too aware. that fear that the narrative is sleeping, you know, that control, their control and their dominance is weakening. And history shows one thing: when the oppressed gain awareness, then the system begins to crack. Yeah. So the next time you hear someone ask, why are white people so obsessed with black people? Then you need to understand this. It's not the obsession with maybe black people's bodies or anything, but it is with the potential that they always want to suppress of black people, you know, because black excellence represents to them the end of their dominance. This is to say, black excellence represents end of exploitation, and an exploitative system will always fear its own collapse. Yeah. So yeah, that's my take on it. Do share with me what you think in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, then give it a thumbs up. You can share it and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.